Olá, hoje nós vamos para o nosso penúltimo pedaço, a continuação daquilo que aconteceu ontem, que é o Felicidade. Vamos continuar discutindo felicidade nesse Shoud 8, a quinta parte, em que ele continua, o mestre conversando com os discípulos, continua falando sobre a felicidade, ok? Então, vamos assistir. Live, vê se tem alguém assistindo.
And the master took a deep pause and a little bit of coffee, waiting for the next question.
Master, I have happy memories, but overall, I'm not happy. Is that all happiness is? Memories?
For many people, yes. For many people, they can find happiness when they go back into memories. When they think of when they were a child, they look at a photo of something, and even though at the moment the photo was taken, they may not have been happy, but they look back now into the happy memories of it. Indeed, there are also bad memories, horrific, terrible memories, but yes, happy memories. There are dreams of happiness. When you think into the future, you dream into the future of what it's going to be like 5 years or 10 years from now. It can bring a smile to your face, realizing you're through with all this difficult transformation. You're through with relying on other people. You smile when you realize that energy is just there. It's just serving you, and it's so effortless and so artistic and creative all at the same time. You smile, but that doesn't necessarily make you happy in the moment. As a matter of fact, for most people, happiness is in the past or the future. It's not right now. Mm-hmm. They don't allow it in the moment to just be happy. Many people feel guilty about being happy because they compare themselves to others and say, until we're all happy, I can't be happy. Mm. Others are so busy in the mental processing, worrying about things and doubting themselves in the moment, in the present time, that they simply aren't aware of this natural gift of happiness that's right there. And happiness can coexist with things like worry. Happiness can coexist with having a bad day. It's all right there. It's simply a matter of perspective, how you choose to look at it. The master took a deep breath and waited for the next question. But there was quite a pause as the students were reflecting on all the words he had to say. He smiled to himself happily, thinking, today I sound a little bit like Khalil Gibran. All these wonderful questions. He waited a moment and the next question came up.
Master, what is the difference between peace and happiness?
Yes. And the master smiled to himself. Yes. In a way, they're both the same because they're both without conflict. Mm. Peace is when you come to terms with yourself. Peace is when you realize there's no more battles inside or outside anymore. Peace is when you recognize that all things are as they should be, even when they don't appear to be, but all things are as they should be. That creates a sense of peace. And in the peace, then, one can remember this natural gift of happiness that's in their lives. It's difficult to recognize that gift. It's difficult to have that happiness when you're not at peace within yourself. But when all things are accepted, there's no longer the fights and the battles. When the dragon is no longer the adversarial energy that it was before, when the dragon is now your pet, then it's much easier to feel that happiness, that gift that's already there. And the next question came up suddenly.
Master, what is the difference? What is the relationship between self-worth and happiness?
Yes, said the Master once again. Yes. They're very closely associated, self-worth and happiness. Self-worth is your perception about yourself. Are you worthy? Self-worth is the way you view who you are. Are you viewing yourself through a clear, pure mirror, or are you viewing yourself through cracked mirrors? Are you viewing yourself as you see others viewing you, or are you viewing yourself from the perspective of your soul? That creates a level of self-worth where happiness is a little bit different. It's not about a perspective, it's simply about a state of well-being, a state of acceptance and grace, a state of realizing that you do have a right to be happy. As long as humans have lived on the planet, humans have been unhappy to varying degrees. As long as humans have been here fighting with others and ultimately fighting themselves, placing great demands on themselves in so many different ways, this happiness, this state of well-being has not been there. Humans are full of stress right now. They're busy in their lives. They're always trying to achieve something. They equate their success based on things like money and friends and even health. And ultimately, that doesn't really bring happiness. Obviously, it doesn't bring happiness. And it's difficult to be in that state of beingness. But when you realize that you are worthy, when you realize that there's no need anymore to feel any guilt and shame about anything, you are worthy, then it's so much easier to be in this state of happiness. The Master took a deep breath and smelled the air. There was a slight breeze had come up, and he could smell the energy changing with the group. You know, energy is so easy to really smell in terms of perceiving it, and he could smell that something was changing. And sometimes when there's big changes going on, it's not always a pleasant smell. But as that smell passes through, the unpleasant odor of a deep change taking place, then it opens way to a sweet smell, a smell of nectar, a smell of honey, a smell of fresh baked cookies. The next question came up from the students.
Master, can I have challenges and adventures and be happy?
Absolutely. Challenges and adventures in your life, some that you specifically and consciously choose, others that just happen, can cloud this whole thing called happiness. It can make it seem distant or not even there at all. But ultimately, yes, in every adventure, in every challenge, even though you're going through difficulties, there is happiness when you realize one very simple thing, that you're the one setting up all the challenges and all the adventures in your life. You're the one that wants to dive deep into experience, whether the experience is being a drug addict or the experience is climbing the Himalayan mountains. You're the one setting all of it up. When you realize that, you can find happiness even when you're being very challenged, even when you're in some sort of what even might be a frightening adventure. It might simply be deciding finally you're going to leave the job that you're in, you're going to open your own business. That's frightening. That's a big adventure. But when you realize you're setting all this up, and you realize that it's a great opportunity to really walk your walk, talk your talk. It's a great opportunity to let your energy serve you. Yes, there can be happiness even in times of stress and adventure and challenge. The Master waited for the next question.
Master, is happiness a thought or a feeling?
Yes. Happiness can be a thought. You can think happy thoughts to yourself, and many of you try to do that. Many of you try to pacify yourself with happy thoughts, but eventually you realize they're transparent. They're almost fake. They don't last very long, and unfortunately, after doing happy thoughts for a while, then you find yourself crashing back down to the ground and even more disappointed in yourself than ever. It's not to say that happiness isn't in thoughts, but generally people try to think their way into happiness. Happiness is eventually a feeling. And it's a feeling that isn't here. It's a feeling that starts here. As I said, the soul feels content. You could say satisfied. The human oftentimes is feeling the need to do more, to have more, to pursue more, to change more. The human is always in a state of wanting perfection, wanting something different, and feeling oftentimes disempowered from doing anything about it. So it's very, very rare that humans really have a sense in the present moment of happiness. But it is absolutely possible. It's the gift from Spirit, and it's time to open that gift up now. Not just in thinking about the past happy memories, not just dreaming about future happy memories, but opening that gift right now. The master by now was getting impatient because he wanted to go out for a drive. So he said to the class, I'll take a few more questions. What's next?
Oh, well, if I have health and finance issues, is it still possible to be happy?
It makes it especially difficult, particularly health issues, to be happy. And of course, any of you who have had financial issues understand that it's very distracting from happiness. All of your attention gets focused on things like your health or your wealth. And then once again, you forget about the inherent nature of happiness that's with you. It's the gift that Spirit, your soul, gave you, knowing that you were going to have a lot of interesting experiences, and said, and here's this thing of happiness that you can find, that you can come back to at any moment. It's always there, even in the worst storms. This happiness is always there. Even if there is disease in your body, and even if your financial abundance is not flowing the way you'd like, I'd like you to find that happiness. It's always there. I'd like you to go back to it, even though everything tells you that there's no reason to be happy right now, and don't search for it through the mind. Come back to it through the heart. You come back to this place of the gift of happiness inherent in you, and it changes the direction of the energies. It changes the storm into a beautiful ocean breeze. Next.
Master, I have 2 dogs. Woof woof. Are pets happy?
If the human's happy.
Ooh.
If the human's happy, because you see, pets are a reflection. Pets are a mirror. Pets are a way of feeding back, whether it's a dog, cat, or any of your other pets. Happy human, happy pet. A pet will pick up on all the feelings that you have and then essentially go through them themselves. Now, sometimes a pet will pick up on your imbalances, your unhappiness, and absorb them for themselves. Sometimes a pet will even go so far as to take on a disease that you might have taken on otherwise. But ultimately, is a pet happy? Ultimately, philosophically, absolutely, because the pet is there in service to you no matter what you put it through. Thank you.
Master, what is the correlation between happiness and allowing?
I would say there's a direct correlation between happiness and allowing. In order to have true happiness, it's important to allow. And once you allow, you'll have true happiness. So I would say they go hand in hand. They're like what are 2 things on the human level that go hand in hand? Chocolate and cookies. But yes, they're really part of the same. Allowing, absolutely, and happiness. Master took a deep breath. He was starting to get a bit impatient now. He had things to do, places to go, people to see. And there comes a point where sometimes the questions just get, lame or they just circle back on each other. So now the master took a deep breath and asked for the final question.
Master, are you happy?
The master looked up, addressing the student who had just asked the question, as if to ask for that question one more time. He was doing this for theatrics, so everyone in the room would hear, and he raised his eyebrows as if to say, repeat that question.
Master, are you happy?
At this point, the master got up, took a deep breath, and said, no doubt, no doubt. And with that, he walked off, got in his vintage 911 Porsche, and drove off happily into the sunset, enjoying the opportunity to get out for a drive in one of his many cars. He loved the car because it was a symbol of the adventure, of the road, of the journey. But now, instead of fighting the road, instead of struggling along the road, he had a lot of cars, a lot of old cars that he loved to work on, simply to enjoy the ride, not having to go anywhere other than just allowing the happiness. And so ends the story of the master and the students. Good questions, dear Linda. And the moral of all this is quite simple.
E a moral é bastante simples do que a felicidade. E é linda a definição que ele dá no dia de hoje da felicidade que ele falou esses 2 dias. A felicidade é um presente da alma ao humano. Na nossa linguagem, é um presente do nosso verdadeiro ser, aquela identidade que entrou na primeira respiração no nosso bebê. É um presente dela ao nosso humano, ao nosso ego, ao nosso físico, à nossa racionalidade, a tudo que a gente aprendeu de fora para dentro. Então, a felicidade não tem nada a ver com o que está fora. A felicidade é um presente do verdadeiro ser, da alma, da identidade. E para isso é preciso que a identidade divina interior de cada um de nós, o nosso verdadeiro ser, seja aceito, reconhecida a sua existência e permitir que ele se manifeste, permitir que ele simplesmente se dê ao luxo, ao prazer de sair num carro não para fazer nada, nem para mostrar nada, apenas pelo prazer, pelo deleite, pela felicidade de estar fazendo algo que gosta de uma forma agradável. Felicidade é algo que a gente está sempre preocupado em encontrar fora, mas a única forma de encontrá-la é permitindo que o nosso verdadeiro ser se manifeste. Só vai encontrar a felicidade o dia que você sentir que o seu divino é capaz de se expressar. Até amanhã com o nosso último pedaço, que é o No Doubt, sem dúvida alguma. Ser feliz é uma questão de você eliminar suas dúvidas.